Welcome, one and all, to a very special edition of Red and Red Real Reviews. If you caught our review of the final installment of Cobra Kai this morning, we have a very special guest to break down some of the genuineness and technical know-how behind Cobra Kai. Welcome, Ryan Demarest, to the show, a real-life sensei. I can assume you're a black belt.
Okay, so my name is Ryan Demarest. I've been training in the martial arts since I was the age of 4, and that's 19 years now to be exact, as of the beginning of February. My main style is American Kempo Karate, and I've also dabbled up in Taekwondo and Hapkido and some Muay Thai. So those are some similar arts that apply to Cobra Kai.
And I want to break the ice here a little bit because I've heard karate pronounced karate at times. So tell me, is that the proper way to pronounce it, or is that a very kind of white person cringy way to say the word?
So I've heard multiple different ways to say it because obviously I'm quite white as well. So my original instructors would call us Kempoists because of American Kempo, right? But karate is like I've heard karateka, I've heard karateka, I've heard so many different things. You know what I'm saying? But Boss
Karateka.
Bruton says karateka.
Karataka.
That's
Yeah,
kind of cool. That sounds kind of
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. So everything's kind of all bases covered.
for sure.
Yeah. All right. So get let give our audience a little bit of more background onto you. Like, how did your journey start? Where have you studied? Where have you competed? How many? What's the reach of your dojo? That sort of stuff.
Okay, so my first installment in martial arts was due to the Power Rangers, believe it or not. I
Oh,
was really obsessed with the Dino Thunder series, which was when Disney Channel was owning Power Rangers, and Jason David Frank came back as the Black Ranger. And I really
mm,
identified with Connor McKnight, the Red Ranger, because he was a soccer player. I played soccer, and he was like not really the best leader, but he became better. And then my cousins did Taekwondo for a very, very long time, earning up to second degree black belt and first degree black belt. 3 of my cousins, have earned up to high level black belts and Taekwondo. So then they did like backyard Taekwondo with me and stuff. So then that's when I was 3.5. By the time I was 4, my dad took me to this one place that was like a very, very loud Taekwondo school. There was music playing and there was like stunts in the back, like Ninja Warrior type of thing. Because I told him I wanted to be a Power Ranger, so he assumed I wanted to be like a stunt guy. You know what I'm saying? Which he's
mm,
not wrong, but like I wanted to learn how to fight too. So that's why we went to a Kempo dojo. And low key, the first reason why I liked Kempo the most was because the first person who taught me, her name was Kelly Perkins. You know what I'm saying? It's because a woman figure was leading the
Huh.
group and she hugged me, she greeted me, and she was like, "Oh my god, I'm so happy you're here." And it wasn't like a big man that was like, "Cheerio, Kunye, Jumbi," and I'm like, "Oh my god, I'm so scared." You know what I'm saying? But in the Kempo school, Mrs. Perkins is like, "Hi, I'm Mrs. Perkins. Nice to meet you." And I'm like, "Oh my god, I love this place." But little did I not know, I didn't want to do karate at first because I cried, you know what I'm saying? And then my dad signed up, and then my dad became a teacher because he did American freestyle karate for a long time. And then so it took me 3.5 years. So at the age of 8, I earned my junior black belt, which means I
Hmm.
mastered the juniors program. And then by the time I was 10, I got what was called a probationary black belt, which means I was up to like the green belt in the adult system. And in American Kempo, green is kind of high, you know what I'm saying? Because once you get your green belt, there's only 3 more levels of brown belt, and then you get your black belt, similar to Cobra Kai. But in Taekwondo, green belt's like the middle of the road or like beginner rank, you know what I'm saying? So then by the time I was 14, I got my first degree. 15, I got my second degree. And then I started doing Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. And then after that, I found Taekwondo. And I really loved the military Taekwondo under Gary Gilliam because he teaches more of a hard style and his stuff dates back to Korea. But it's not like the Master Kim, kind of like
Okay.
very mean. I mean, they are kind of brutal, but they're not very mean, going to hurt you and try to kill you. You know what I mean? They're kind of more like the younger Master Kim, like the female one, not like the old
mm.
guy. You You know what I'm saying? They're more like
Yeah.
the Miyagi dudes, he said. They're more like Mr. Miyagi,
Okay.
he said, in terms of personality. So that's where my background is. And then now I train with Jamie Seabrook for Kempo Karate, and he's out of Canada. So I got to commute a little bit, but we do an online class every Thursday.
I've seen a couple people hopping on, so if you've got questions for Ryan or just comments on Cobra Kai, please drop them in the comments, and we'll throw them up on screen for them to be answered.
For sure.
A couple follow-ups. We actually laughed at the end, in the middle of our show about Stingray's cameo at the end, and I kind of got a kick out of the fact that he had a yellow belt. So
Stingray?
kind of adding to the fact that he's uh obviously not that skilled a fighter. So where is yellow in the thing? Like how much do we?
What's the order? Of the colors.
So my thing that I think about all day, every day is the order of colors and how it's different for every single martial art, right?
Geez.
That's what I think about every single day. So that's an awesome question. 99.99999% of martial arts, yellow is right after white.
Okay. So white is first.
Yeah.
Yellow.
Yeah, yellow. And then let's say like what I would assume for Cobra Kai, because Johnny was very young when he got his blue belt, and John Kreese, if there was that flashback back when there was the scene during Christmas with, I don't remember what season it was, but there was a flashback to when he first started karate, and then he earned his blue belt. So I assume that's right after yellow, because Johnny was like 12 or 13, you know what I mean? And back then you weren't getting a black belt until you were an adult, you know what I'm saying? The only reason why he got a black belt is because he was probably a champion at brown belt. So I assume after blue is green, because in Karate Kid there were green belts in the advanced class at Kreese's school in the first Karate Kid, and then brown, and then there's a brown with a stripe, and then black belt.
Did that change at some point with the adult thing?
Well, what was that, sorry?
Did that change at some point where you didn't get a black until you were an adult? Like in modern times, can you get a black?
Oh, I think the 90s, yeah, because Karate Kid came out and then it kind of watered it down a lot. And then Sport Karate was like, yeah, if you're competing at a world level, why not get a black belt? You know what I'm saying? Or if you just do katas and you can flip and do stuff. Like Raina Von Landingham, I really love Zara, but the fact she got her black belt at 6 years old is kind of
far-fetched.
Yeah, I mean, she's 22, but like I earned my junior black belt when I was 8. She earned a first degree when she was 6. She started when she was 2. I started when I was 4, but I didn't get my first degree until I was 14.
Oh, okay.
But in her system, the American Taekwondo Association, there is no difference between adult system and kid system. In American Kempo, there's a big difference between what the adults can learn and what the kids can learn. Because in American Kempo, it's very brutal.
Mm-hmm.
What's the one that most people do? Like I was confused. Like when you said blue belt, I was like, wait, there's a blue belt? Because I thought there was a purple belt. Like my nephews did karate a long time ago.
Yes. So some schools go white, yellow, orange, green, blue, purple, brown, black. And some schools don't even have blue. Some schools don't even have purple. Some schools don't have brown. Some schools have red. Like my Taekwondo Sabunim, we go white, yellow, orange, green, red, brown, I believe. And then in Hapkido, it's like white, and then there's like 2 stripes on the white belt, then yellow, and then stripes on the yellow, then orange, then purple, and then green, I think, and then red. But I'm not too certain on the Hoshin Seoul syllabus because we're always changing the Hoshin Seoul syllabus. That's my Hapkido lineage. So, because it's always constantly changing, we want to update it constantly to be effective.
We always love 90s nostalgia, so it would be remiss of us, based on what you said earlier, to not ask you who your favorite Power Ranger was.
Oh, my favorite Power Ranger? Right? My favorite Power Ranger? Oh my gosh. So if I had to pick a favorite Power Ranger of all time, it would probably be RJ, the master from Jungle Fury, the Purple Wolf Master. Because he's obviously a pothead and he's a Muay Thai specialist and a Kung Fu guy, and he like disowned his dad to create his own style. But the shark technique is so cold, so that one's cool too. So like I like Casey, I like the Master Shark, Master Finn, the elephant, that whole series, because that series raised me. I also like Lily, the Yellow Ranger, the Blue Ranger, Theo. Yeah. But the Red Ranger specifically and the purple one.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it's time to go into some technical questions about karate's representation in the show.
Okay. Okay.
Or do you want me to ask mine, or do
You're
you
up.
want to go
Yeah,
first?
yeah.
I'm up. Okay. So I had a question. This is about the Tori versus Zara match. So during their match, I mean, at the end of it, uh, looks like Zara lost a couple teeth. So my question is, do you not use mouth guards in karate, or what's the deal? Like with a match or a tournament like that, would you have a mouth guard on?
So that's one of the hyper unrealistic aspects of
Okay.
Cobra Kai is that, like I said, 99% is like my highest number. So I'd probably turn it down to like 80 to 90. Karate, you're at least having headgear, gloves, shin protection, foot
Right.
protection, and mandatory a mouth guard. And if you're a male,
Yes.
groin
Okay.
protection. You know what I'm saying? However, there are hard styles like Kyokushin that don't do anything and they don't punch to the face, but they do like crazy like spin back kicks to the head, like flips to the face. Like I would think of like Robbie or Quan when they do crazy
Yeah.
flips.
Wow. Okay. Good to know. Would you get disqualified if you weren't wearing a mouth guard for something?
So I don't know if that would get you disqualified, but I highly would recommend to wear it because obviously it's part of the rules, and two, self-protection. You gotta always protect yourself. You know what I'm saying?
Oh
That's like
yeah.
number one rule is self-protection. And then oh, I don't have my gear near me. I was gonna show you like my headgear and gloves that they have. Here, one second. I'll show you the headgear.
Oh yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, here. One second.
Yeah, then actually, I'm thinking of a good follow while he's running off to get his gear. I'm thinking of a good follow up to what he said.
So this is like the foot gear you would typically see in karate, like point karate. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Okay.
And then this is like the gloves you would be wearing. This is two of them. This is like the glove you would typically see in most sport karate. And then this is signed by Huck Polanis, who's like a master under the guy Ed Parker who created American Kempo. This is the headgear you would see.
Mhm.
And these
Oh,
are the shin guards you would see. And then this is more of a Olympic style. Like, you know, karate was in the Olympics in 2021 in Tokyo. This is the Olympic glove. So it's a little different than the sport karate glove, but they're still curved. You know, this one has a thumb. This one does not have a thumb. And this one has the grips on the inside for your fingers. And this one, you just
Oh
slide it in.
wow.
Yeah, this one, you just slide it in. So, but yeah, traditionally, you always see headgear, foot protection, and, you know, head, feet, and hand protection. And then, and like juveniles or under black belts, chest protector.
Oh, okay. Makes sense.
But unless it's full contact, if it's like semi-contact or full contact, then they may not elect for a chest guard.
this
Hmm.
seems like a topical comment. Is this a friend or student of yours?
Is it Danielle?
It's from Frank Newman, the trademarked Red Sensei gear.
Oh my God! So that his daughter trained Kempo karate with me when she was younger. They were the best. I love the Newmans. How's it going, guys? Love you guys.
I
Guardian martial arts forever.
I will ask with um is it common to wear those just in matches, or is that protective gear required for um, practice and sparring as well?
So practice and sparring, I would actually wear this so sometimes I wouldn't wear headgear when after I got my black belt because I had a big ego and I wanted to start doing MMA fighting. But we would required to wear gloves and foot gear because at Guardian, they would tell you that we would be sparring hard. And if you really wanted to, I would allow you to wear MMA gloves. But if you wear MMA gloves, you see how these are 4 ounces? And it's a lot
Wow.
different than this. You have to be able to keep your hands tight because if your hands are like this, you're going to break your hand. This one forces you to close your hand. This one doesn't.
Oh, okay. It.
But
I mean,
Kyokushin, oh, sorry.
maybe it's just a media misrepresentation of the sport because I can't ever picture in my head like an image of seeing all this protective gear. It's almost like it makes them seem more like boxers.
Well, what I would assume, because like the rules for the Sekai Takai were like MMA low key for the
Ah.
finals, because they were like doing spinning elbows and stuff. Like just basic stand up kickboxing with spinning elbows. It's kind of like Muay Thai mixed with karate. I would think
Oh
it's like the
wow.
80s and 90s kickboxing. You know, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, before he did MMA, was a point karate guy that did kickboxing. It was very similar to that. Or I'd say it's very similar to Kyokushin, because Kyokushin doesn't have gear at all, but they don't allow punches to the head. So that's where I'm like, maybe
Mm,
because it's the TV show, but it's only
yeah.
up to 3 points, which is very common in karate. You know what I'm saying? Is 3 points from the All Valley tournaments.
Yeah. In speaking of the Seikai Taikai, that the final match between Johnny and Wolf, there were several deductions because Wolf was taking a lot of cheap shots on him.
Right.
So it's how is that realistic or not so much because you're also wearing all the protective gear? There's still a lot of regulation with what you can do,
So
where you can hit someone.
yes, sir. So basically, with the all Valley rules, because mind you, they got home field advantage. They could make the rules. They could pick everything. The only thing that they couldn't choose was the rules for the finals for the Sekai Tech guy, which was how they fought with like the elbows and the knees and the clinch work and minimal takedowns and stuff, and like you know. But for Sensei Wolf versus Sensei Lawrence's fight, that fight was all Valley rules, which is very like common in karate, which is like up to 3 points, and you have to score and you stop, right? And you can't do elbows, you can't do knees. And back when I used to compete, because I want to like touch up on two questions, because I didn't say anything about like penalties for a mouth guard or me competing when I grew up. When I competed growing up, I wouldn't wear a mouth guard sometimes unless my sensei forced me to, because I was a little savage and I knew I was going to go out there and just beat people up and get excessive force and get second place or third place. I knew I wasn't going to win. You know what I'm saying? I
Mm.
knew I was going to just beat him up, and I knew I was going to lose. I will only have one first place trophy, and it's from my inter club tournament because they let me hit hard.
Show us the hardware. Show us the
Yeah,
hardware.
but at everything in Detroit and Wayne and like Romulus, anywhere you name it in Michigan, I would always lose and get second place. Second place, just like Robbie.
Hey, well, Robbie wound up with a multi-million-dollar contract to promote himself in the sport. So sometimes
For
second place
sure.
ain't spilled milk.
I didn't know how
um,
much it was, but I knew it was a fat check.
yeah, that's true. Tori got the
Yeah, him
fat
and
check.
Tori can travel the world, do karate. I hope like maybe if there's a spinoff in like 2070 or something, or the 2060, and they do it, it's like their thing, and they travel the world, and it's like them and their kids or something. Even though Tanner and Mary Mouse are getting married, I believe.
Frank's
It's just
comment is, "You excessive? Never."
wait, what was that?
Frank's comment is, "You excessive? Never."
So Miss Danielle's first day, I think I kicked her in the back or in the stomach with a spinning back kick, or I punched her in the head kind of quite hard, and she was like 9 years old, and I was like 13 or 14. And I was already a black belt, obviously, and she's a white belt. And lower rank always sets the pace. However, her dad wanted her to come to sparring class every single time because, in their philosophy, which I agree with 100%, and I'm happy that they believe this too, that if you don't spar from day one, how are you going to prove that your techniques work in class?
Mm.
Now, I don't mean like literally day one, get the gloves on and let's scrap, but like you have to prove what you're learning in class works within like the next couple months, in my opinion, at least. But she
Mm.
was in there day one, I believe.
You're almost like the goon in hockey.
Yes. I love the formulation phase, or the sparring or freestyle, however you want to call it, depending on Taekwondo, karate, Kempo. Sparring is
Um,
one of my favorite things.
my technical question about the sport as it pertains to the show is in Robbie and Axel's fight. Obviously, Axel is significantly taller than Robbie. He's just a massive human being for a teenager. Um,
Yes.
Robbie's strategy to, at least to a non-martial artist, appears that his strategy where he was having success was to employ his high kicks to spin up and and get some contact on him where he couldn't block it. Is that a realistic strategy? And was it also believable that he even could do it given the height discrepancy?
I think that that is kind of close because Robbie's game plan was obviously to not let Axel use his range because he's obviously significantly taller. And if you have that range, because I'm about the same height as the actor who plays Axel, and so if and I like to spar when I spar, I keep people at my range. I don't want them to get close. However, Robbie's character is all about spin back kicks and those crazy inward elbows, like how he fought on Sean in the juvenile scene. And he always likes those crazy boxing hooks, and he likes bobbing and weaving, and he likes the traditional Gojo Ryu from Miyagi, and he likes the Tongsudo from Cobra Kai. He's a perfect mixture of both styles, but that's his downfall against Axel, though, because like he wants to do those jump spin kicks to his head and use those, those crazy techniques.
That's who. So, is there anyone else that you think is like Robbie in that regard, as far as having a perfect balance between both styles, both dojo styles?
So if I had to break it down, I'd say like Robbie's like a 50 or 60 Miyagi and a 50 to 40 to 50% Cobra Kai, and then Miguel is the opposite because Miguel really embraced what Daniel taught him, you know what I mean? And then Hawk is a little bit more Cobra Kai because Hawk even has his own unique style. Jacob Bertrand has even said that yes, they were doing karate, but his, because he was in love with Muay Thai and mixed martial arts, so his is more Muay Thai-esque versus karate. That's why he does those clinches things, and he broke Dimitri's arm and all that jazz. So, I think that with Tanner, that they all want to have their own unique styles, and I feel like Miguel is up to par with him, but Miguel is more offense, and then Robbie is more defense.
Were there any particular fights where you're watching them and the either the strategy or the execution was not necessarily believable to what you would do in a real match?
For just season 6?
Even in general, I mean, it would be wonderful if there was something in season 6, but even in general throughout the series.
All right, so in the general series, like I feel like the first All Valley was pretty on par, except for the fact that they weren't wearing mouth gears and protection. You know what I'm saying? Mouth guards and protection. But that was pretty spot on to like what 90s to 2000s karate looked like. Because back in the 80s and 70s and 50s, it was very brutal. Just like how they said like death was like a very rare thing, but that was like more common in the 40s. That was actually real.
Oh,
because like in the 80s and 90s, if you look up, like, how Johnny first got a laptop and he walked up and looked up old school karate, that is actually realistic on what he was watching online.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then Chosen, like doing this thing in the sand is realistic. When Chosen fights, is very realistic, just how he would fight in like a self-defense military style, Okinawan, Gojo Ryu. And then Kreese and Silver, their fight on the yacht, I feel like is kind of realistic because they're using environmental weapons. But in terms of like the All Valley or Sekai Tekai, I mean, it's kind of realistic, but like all those jump spin back kicks, but the fact that they're 17 with like a couple years of karate experience, I don't buy it. Because it took me 10 years to get my black belt, guys. So like when Daniel San got his black belt in 6 months on the movie, but in the book he did YMCA, karate, boxing, and judo in Newark, but like at like an orange belt level, so like white, yellow, orange. That's why Miyagi took him under his wing in the book. But in the movie, 6 weeks. How are you a black belt in 6 weeks, my guy? Now Miguel was 4 months with like a 5th degree black belt because Johnny's like a high level black belt. However, he stopped doing karate after his 3rd or 4th All Valley, so he's probably only like a 2nd like me, but he has the knowledge of like a 4th or 5th.
We know Mr. Miyagi was a bit of an unconventional teacher.
Oh, Miyagi's like an 8th, yeah, and that's like very high in Okinawan, but 10th for Mike Barnes. The fact that Mike Barnes was a 10th degree black belt when he was 17 at the All Valley in 85. You got to be like 60 or 70 years old to be a 10th degree black belt.
Oh, wow.
And when he came up in the season 5 with his red gi with the Shotokan patch, I was like, I knew it was going to be one of those weird Japanese styles. But when it comes to like the fights, I like Robbie's fight with Axel. I like Axel's and Miguel's fight. I like Tori and Zara's fight the most out of those fights. And then Sensei Wolf and Johnny was like the best closing out because of the flashbacks and the fact that Miguel's and Axel's too, with the flashbacks to how he did everything he did from season 1. From what was the first thing he did? I don't remember. He was kicking him, right? And then he had to learn how to kick, and then he was swimming under, getting drowned. And then, when he did the flip when he was fighting against Kyler, that was awesome too. I just loved how everything pulled together. Now, that was realistic because it's like everything he's ever learned throughout his life in 2 minutes. I would do that if I had to have a world title and like everything I've learned in 2 minutes. Like, hell yeah.
I thought the Miguel flashbacks were the best. Were the best montage.
Right. And then I feel like the Iron Dragons are more realistic than the Cobra Kai and Miyagi-Do when it comes to like fighting in real life. But Miyagi is good at tournaments and Cobra Kai is good at like, I'm going to kill you. You know what I'm saying? So like, in my humble opinion, I feel like the Iron Dragons are based on some style of karate that I haven't identified yet. But I truly, truly do believe that there is a blend of a form of kung fu or wushu, because kung fu just means hard work over time. So wushu means martial arts in Cantonese. So I feel like it's some form of like hung gar kung fu or kempo karate. Because when Axel was beating up Robbie, he was using moves like delayed sword, sword of destruction, shielding hammer, encountering with danger. He used lots of kempo moves that I learned growing up. And I'm like, oh my God, Axel, when he changed his stance, because in the second part, he was just toying with Rob. You know what I'm saying? He was using the Taekwondo and karate that Zara does. You know what I mean? But at a lower level, because Rain is a 4th degree black belt and Axel's probably like a 1st or 2nd. You know what I mean? But then when he flipped the script and started going like this and that really wide stance, and the Binary Brothers were like, what stance is that? And I'm like, oh my God, he's about to go beat him up with Kempo. And he started doing like upward claws to uppercuts and back fists with the same hand, which is a point of origin reference, and using the same stance as karate. I was like, oh my God, he's doing Kempo. That's why it's called Iron Dragons, because he's doing either Dragon Kung Fu, Hung Gar Kung Fu, Black Dragon Kung Fu, or Kempo karate mixed with karate and, MMA, because Sensei Wolf was doing an MMA thing, and when he did the Shaolin Sunset on Donald Cerrone, that was in an MMA thing in the second part.
Cowboy.
Cowboy.
That's interesting. You say Cobra Kai is the one that the strategy is I'm going to kill you, because Wolf like almost implies, almost outright states that he wants his fighters to put an end to their competitors.
Yeah.
So that's what I think with the thing with Kempo too, because when he was doing that thing on that one dude where Axel did the outward block and the black on the arm, in Kempo you never pass a body joint without checking, which means if I were to block right here, someone's gonna hit you with an elbow in the teeth. So when you grab their arm in reversing mace, which is a move with a punch, and you grab and hit him with a back knuckle to the ribs, but instead you can hit him with a forearm strike to their elbow, and theoretically, you can use a little forearm block, but no, you can use a strike depending on your intent, and that's where Sensei Wolf was implying like you need to finish him now. Now, yes, I feel like he wants to kill him, but he's more like I want to fight in terms of like MMA or like a actual street fight, but like Cobra Kai is more about like self-defense for military, and I want to kill you because it's a whole history.
Yeah. Partner, what you got for Ryan, just as far as something random from the show?
So I had another question. You had referenced, the Korean style of fighting with Kim Dae-eun and her grandpa. So I was wondering, is it realistic that Kim Dae-eun's grandfather was experimenting with like that one blow to the chest thing? Like, what I was thinking of is how in TV and film, how there'll be fight sequences and someone just like snaps someone's neck, and like apparently it's not that easy, like as they make it look in the film. So is it a situation like that where it's just not as easy as they make it out to be?
Okay, so when it comes to how easy it is, like obviously you could finish a fight in like 2 or 3 moves if you really know what you're doing, but that's extremely rare, to be honest with you. And I don't know what attack it is, but I assume it's from like a punch or a grab or whatnot, because the first thing you do is hit him with a leopard's paw to the throat, and then you hit him with a ridge hand to the neck, and then you do like a thing where you're ripping their like ribs with your fingers, and we call that contouring in Kempo, because in Kempo you know where the anatomy of your opponent is, and you, so if my eyes are closed, for example, my thumb's right here and I know my neck is here because I know my anatomy, right? Same thing with the ribs, but at the very end she inverts her hand and does like a crazy palm heel to like kill him. Now I don't think that's very realistic, but there are moves where like you could kill people fairly quickly, but like I don't like want to like teach them even though I
Yeah.
learned.
Yeah, and we, and then part of me is like kind of curious what they would be, but part of me also doesn't want to ask on the internet and have someone like, "Ooh, that's how you kill someone quickly."
Right. Speaking of the thing with Sensei Kim and her grandfather, I guess I can call
Yeah.
her Master Kim now. Master
Yeah.
Kim and her deceased grandfather, you know, on the scroll, it was different than what Yoon was doing, and it was different than what Kim was doing. But what Kim was doing every time is how she killed her grandpa, was what she was doing. Because
Oh,
what
okay.
Yoon was doing on the people, he kept on hitting them in the throat because he didn't want to kill them on their ribs and hitting them in the heart. So he did like a leopard's paw to the throat and like a chop to the throat and like a tiger's mouth to the throat. And I'm like, that's brutal too, but that wouldn't kill somebody.
Mm.
Oh, okay. So
Where
that
the dude just
the
drops, you know what I'm saying? And then he's like, again, until it's perfect.
yeah. So again, anyone hopping on, please feel free to drop your comments. Just about the karate technique in general for Ryan featured in Cobra Kai, or your thoughts on the show in general, and we'll react to them. So that scene with that scene where the Grandpa Kim is like punishing the students, that's just intended for extreme pain. That wasn't necessarily a punishment, a punishment by a terminal punishment.
So I believe that he was obviously a little PO'd to keep it PG. Like, I know he was upset, in other words, to a high degree, to the point where he wanted to like see violence. You know what I'm saying? But
Oh,
I
okay.
think it's super unrealistic. The fact that they're teenagers and the fact that he was trying to, you know, get into their head psychologically and then physically put them in harm's way, that's hyper unrealistic. Now the thing with Turner and how he was like talking about Turner, Kreese's captain before Kreese killed him on
Sure.
the POW camp thing over
Okay.
the Cobra snakes on the bridge or a catwalk. Now Turner, I feel like kind of manipulated what Sensei Kim taught him and like made it even more worse than what Kim taught. But back when Kreese and Silver went to go from the source, they realized like, oh, this is brutal, but like we can make it more karate-esque, you know what I'm saying? But the thing with the Kim and her grandfather, like that's crazy, man. Like I can't believe that happened. Like how she took the mantle by killing him, because obviously I think the deed was to kill Kreese because Kreese killed
Yeah.
Turner, and she's like, "No, I love this guy. I'm going to kill you."
Frank has a comment as far as I imagine that means the pain is just to intend people to wish for death because it's so intense.
Right. So in Kempo, there's another thing where because Ed Parker had a black belt in judo before he did Kempo with William Chow, and so he also was in the military and did boxing and street fights in Honolulu. But when it comes to that, is he wants to hit you like a bunch of times. Like in judo, you grab and grip and throw, but he doesn't want to occupy two hands at once. So he's hitting you, checking, pinning, and hitting you. And it's kind of funny that Frank said that because you want it to be over faster, because there are moves where it's like 20 movements long. And the uke has to eat it and like move and react properly. And then there were some kids that would be like, "Oh no, don't hit me!" And my dad would get so mad if kids would do that, and because I would be the guy that would get beat up properly, and then there'd be these kids like, "Oh no, don't hit me!" As I'm going pop, 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 looking like a movie character. You know what I mean, like John Wick.
Yeah, John Wick.
Is he did
uh,
Kempo? The actor, the guy who choreographed it, did Kempo.
I wanted to ask. I imagine that the actors, the students, they're not necessarily just trained for this. Like they probably did have some martial arts background.
Mm.
Which ones, or maybe they don't. Um, they which ones do you feel were most realistic as far as their fighting style? Like which ones actually pulled off the role?
So, do you remember Bert, the guy with the glasses? The like short
The,
kid with the yellow
the
hair
little
from
nerdy
season
kid, the little
one? Yeah,
nerd.
from season
Yeah.
one.
Oh, okay.
Bert, he was friends with Stingray. Bert, he's actually a second-degree black belt in karate, and his family has taught him karate his entire life.
Really?
Really? And Reina Von Landingham's a fourth-degree black belt in Taekwondo, so that checks. Bert checks. So Zara and Bert check out. But when it comes to Miguel, Tanner, and Jacob, I think I heard on one of their podcasts before that they all never really did martial arts at all. And I think
Really?
maybe Jacob got like his green belt in something. And then William Zabka has even said in the 80s he only got his green belt after doing Cobra Kai
Oh,
and Tong
wow.
Sudo because that's what it's based on. But like they really don't have much experience, and that kind of made me upset because back in YouTube Red in 2017, I emailed them because I had a black belt and acting experience, and I'm like, let me be in the show. But that's a different time for a different story for a different day.
Okay. Well, given that disclosure, which of them? I mean, like which ones
Who's
do you look at?
progressed into the character the most?
Yeah, like which ones do you look at and the way
Oh,
the way they portray it doesn't irk you? Like, okay, I
yeah,
can live with that.
I think Miguel does a good job. Obviously,
Mm.
he has a stunt double for some things when he does those crazy 540s and stuff. Likewise, of Robbie, I know Tanner Buchanan and Jacob Bertrand and Jolo. What's his last name? But the guy who plays Miguel, anyways. They all never really did martial arts growing up, but so I think that they've progressed very well from what they have learned because obviously it's for the movies. And when they do those spin kicks, it is like more of crescent kicks versus roundhouse kicks until the end where Robbie did that tornado kick on Axel, landed that first point, and then Axel gets mad and stuff. And then Johnny does a tornado kick on Sensei Wolf too, but most of the time it's like crescent kicks and stuff. But I really feel like Jacob did a really good job growing into a martial artist, likewise of Tanner and Jolo. And
What about the
Peyton.
girls?
So when it comes to Peyton List, she did an amazing job with her stuff too, and Mary Mouser does really good
Mm.
too. But so if I had to compare to like how they grew up in terms of Cobra Kai, I feel like Tori is more offense and she does know the advanced Miyagi-Do tactics, but not at the level of Samantha. But Samantha does have a hothead like Daniel, so she does want to learn Eagle Fang or Cobra Kai. So Mary Mouser actually does a beautiful job even before she's had like the wires and stuff, back when she was doing crazy stunts. Because at first I didn't think she had wires, but I did see some behind the scenes stuff, and there are some things where she had a wire.
Mm.
But like it's cool though, and she does have a stunt double, and so does Tori, I think. But Raina Von Landingham, I believe, did 99% of her own stunts. And
Which
so
one
did
is
the
that?
guys from
That's Kim Daeun?
no, Raina Von Landingham is Zara Malik. And
Zara, okay.
and then Kim Daeun, I don't know if she had martial arts experience prior, but I know the Orange Geese, the Fighting Irish, you know what I'm saying? They did
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Filipino martial
yeah.
arts, and they all did Filipino martial arts in their thing.
What?
Yeah, so the stick and knife fighting, there's actually empty hand stuff from stick and knife fighting, Filipino martial arts. And Datu Tim Hartman is a 10th degree black belt in it. And the male's captain of the Irish team, I forgot what it's called, Double and Fighting, I think, or something. The guy who's the captain is going to be the next Datu when Tim Hartman passes away. But Tim Hartman is really good and good health. So, but that's cool that they have a guy from a different martial arts background. And they were trying to make him do like karate. And he's like, no. I'm going to do Filipino martial arts. So when you see on the sparring deck up in the air when Miguel does 2v1, that was awesome. So I think they all progressed nicely. But they had nothing to start with martial arts. Pardon me?
I see a few people hopping on as we get ready to wrap up shortly. So if you've got any questions about Cobra Kai, how karate was represented for Ryan, please drop the comments in below. So okay, you spoke about the boys, you spoke about the girls. How about the senseis?
Oh, the
Johnny,
senseis?
Daniel, Wolf, Johnny, Daniel, Wolf, Silver, Creasy, even like how convincing are all of them?
So I believe when it comes to the senseis that I don't think that any of them really got up to black belt because Johnny said he did martial arts. William Zabka said he did martial arts after the first Karate Kid. You know what I'm saying? He didn't do anything beforehand. But Daryl Vidal, you know, the guy who did the judging, or excuse me, the refereeing for the Sekai Tekai in the Valley, he was actually in the first Karate Kid, and he's an actual Kempo Karate black belt, 10th degree in Chinese Kempo. So that's why I think Iron Dragons is Chinese Kempo or something similar to that, or American Kempo. But Daniel or Mel Machio never did martial arts before. Kreese never did martial arts before, you know. Martin Cove. Thomas Griffin, I think that's his name, or Griffith, the guy who plays Silver. I think he may be a black belt in Tong Sudo, but that was like after Karate Kid Part 3, but I'm not too certain. Don't quote me. And then maybe Mike Barnes is a Shotokan guy, but there's no way in hell that guy's a 10th degree black belt.
Who's that?
Mike Barnes.
Oh, Mike Barnes. Yeah, Mike Barnes.
Yeah.
Um,
Sean Keenan. Like he's a great guy, but there's no way he's a black belt 10th degree. He's not old enough.
Yeah, that's like you said. That's typically people get into their older, like retirement years before they're at that level.
That's the last belt. If you obtain it, that's the last belt if you get there.
Yeah. Well, before we wrap up, let's give you the floor. What do you kind of want to? What are some things that maybe things you saw in the show that strike a little bit of a passion project for you, or things like you see them like yes that, or something that you see you're like no, not at all, that is not cool.
So when it comes to the things that I really like, I don't know if you guys follow Jay Cook on Instagram or on Facebook or TikTok. She does like Cobra Kai reenactments ever since 2018. She's like sponsored by Century, which are the gear that sponsored the mats and everything, and the gis. She's phenomenal, and she's inspired me to like maybe get out of my comfort zone and post more on social media when it comes to videotaping reenactments of Cobra Kai or Karate Kid, because I'm not very comfortable with doing like that style, because that's not my style. I don't do Gojo Ryu. I don't do, you know, what's it called? Tong Sudo. However, I truly think that I could pull off the Iron Dragon style, so maybe I could do some of that. And then the things I kind of want to steer away from is child black belts, 10th degree black belts by 50, or by the time he was 17, rather, because it was an 85, excuse me. So like, yeah, just that's the only thing I steer away from is like that. And I don't think sending kids without mouth guards and protection is kind of good either. That's very bad. And I'm glad that we brought that up, because like I feel like a lot of people don't even think about that.
Oh, I definitely did. When I saw the teeth on the floor, I'm like, hell no, that can't be real. That can't be.
Tori did it in the part 2, and Yoon pulled it up in the air, and they're all like, "Yeah!" And they started calling her the Tooth Fairy. Because she's like, "What did I just do?" And Yoon grabs the tooth, and he's like holding her hand, and she's like, "Oh my god, I just knocked that bitch's tooth out." Oops.
Yeah, that sounds familiar. Yeah.
Excuse me, but you know she swears.
Oh
in the
no,
TV.
that's all right. We swear a little bit. We're not all buttoned up and prim and proper. So
I lend myself for 3 swear words today.
Okay.
When it came to the podcast, because I didn't want to go like over the top, because that's how I talk normally.
We'll sing up yourself a little bit. Tell people where to find you on social media or any other kind of media you've done in the past. So sing yourself up and tell people where they can find you, or your dojo for that matter.
So if you want to reach out to me, you can go on to Instagram at Red Sensei 10p. So that's my main thing, is Instagram or Facebook. If you want to be a friend with me, like if you do martial arts, I'll probably accept it. You know what I mean? I might venture out into YouTube eventually, because my family's always told me to be a podcaster and you know, document my journey. So I might go onto YouTube eventually, but just right now, Red Sensei 10p on Instagram.
Very good.
And then I've done excuse me, one more thing. Sorry.
Go ahead.
So I've been on one other podcast prior to this, and it was called the My Empty Hands podcast with Reggie Darden. So if you guys want to check that out to know a little bit more about my background in Kempo, please check that out. That's on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, anywhere you get your podcasts.
Awesome. Well, I mean, if there's ever another media production of karate, we will most certainly. This was a fun conversation. We'll most certainly think about having you back.
And if you would like other point of views from other martial artists, I can ask my Sabunim, which means teacher of teachers in Korean, my Taekwondo and Hapkido instructor, or my senseis, or even my friends if they want to be on, if you guys would be interested in that too.
No? All right. Yeah.
Because I know my friend Reggie Darden really likes Cobra Kai, and so does my Sabunim, so they might show you
Yeah.
their point of view. They might even say, yeah, it's hyper realistic, it's 100% real. They might give you a completely different opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, speaking of social media, you can find her on Instagram at Binge the Gins with dots between the words, and on TikTok, all one word at Binge the Ginge, and myself on both platforms, Nutmeg2 Palmetto, that is the number 2. Give us both follows. Give Ryan a follow too, Red Sensei 10P on Instagram. And for Red and Red Real Reviews, of course, you can contact us via email, Red that is the letter N, Real Reviews, real spelt with 2 A's, at gmail.com. And for the show, video wise, if you want to see the Ginger Greatness, YouTube and Rumble. And then audio wise, if you're on the go, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and iHeartRadio. Ryan, thank you so much again. And as for us, we will be back this Sunday for a live reaction to the SAGs and the Sunday after for the Oscars. Until the next real review, Red and Red Sensei signing out.
Us.